Hello BookTube, this is Weekly Reads, and I've had a great reading week. I started my reading week with Conquistadores by Fernando Cervantes. This is a reassessment of the Spanish conquest of the Americas from Columbus's expeditions or voyages to Hernando de Soto's quixotic expedition to what is now the southern U.S. And Cervantes looks at this 50-year history through a number of lenses: cultural, how Castilian and wider European culture of the late medieval and early Renaissance period encouraged, inspired, abetted the conquistadores' private conquests, as well as how Castilian and European culture encouraged, inspired, abetted their opposition. And there was opposition in this period. A number of influential writers wrote scathing attacks on the conquistadores, and their attacks have largely won the day. They're pretty much how we view what happened. And Cervantes does not skimp on the brutality, whether intended or not, of the conquest. The chapters that explore the conquest of Tenochtitlan are brutal and well done, and the conquest of the Inca, those chapters are again brutal and heartrending, and I really enjoyed the book. It's a very, very good history of the Spanish conquest and of what happened during those years. So really, really enjoyed it. After I finished Conquistadores, I read Blood on the River by Marjoleine. This won the 2021 Kindle History Prize as well as the 2021 Frederick Douglass Book Prize, and it is about a slave revolt on the Berbice River, which at that point in 1763 to 1764 was a Dutch colony. It would eventually be conquered by the British and become what is part of what is now Guyana. And so Cars looks at the rebellion from both sides. The remarkable thing about the Berbice slave rebellion is that it was highly documented, and those documents are accessible in archives in the Netherlands, which Cars looked at exhaustively. And so we can get both what the Dutch were thinking, both officials and individual planters, as well as the rebels themselves, what their goal. I mean, we can kind of suss out what their goals were, what their strategy was, and it's just, this is a brilliant, brilliant book. Definitely worthy of winning the Kindle History Prize. I highly, highly enjoyed it and recommend it. And Blood on the River took me 3 days to read, and that was during a work week, which I normally do not read that fast, but I managed to get nearly 100 pages on Monday and Tuesday, and didn't have much to finish up on Wednesday. Oh, it's highly, highly recommended. So, since I had some time left over, I moved on to Waterloo Sunrise by John Davis. Once again, this is a history of London in the 60s and 70s that I have been working on for the past few weeks after bailing on it in August. And again, my criticisms stand. It's very technical, it's very academic. But there are some interesting things in the book. I mean, some of it's interesting details. The chapters or essays I read the past few days focused on the Docklands in the East End of London, um, cab drivers, which was interesting, um, the suburban London, and also racial relations in London Part 1. So I will be continuing this book. I have a few more essays to read, and so it will be making an appearance next week for weekly reads because I'm hoping over, over the course of the coming work week to finish this up. Because I have about 100 and maybe 10 pages left, I think. So before I finally finish Waterloo Sunrise, I will be moving on to my contribution to Victober or my participation in Victober. Um, Victober is one of the seminal booktube reading events in which participants read Victorian literature in the month of October. And I participated the past few years and I haven't really been all that successful. Um, my selection of Victorian literature is paltry, and I always mean to add more for Victober because I always want to go all out and do a whole month dedicated to Victorian literature where I would read novels or other fiction, poetry, drama, and nonfiction. And I never get around to actually getting those books. It's usually one or two, and then I usually end up bailing on them. So this year I decided to focus on some poetry, which, as luck would have it, one of the prompts for this year's Victober is to read Victorian poetry. So I will be reading the new Oxford Book of Victorian Verse, edited by Christopher Ricks, which I've shown a few times. And I will kind of read it, hopefully enjoy it, and look to see which Victorian poets click with me, and maybe I will make an effort in the next year to collect some of their selected, if not collected, works. So, wish me luck. And of course, well, I already said I was going to, once I finish the New Oxford Victorian Verse, I will be returning to Waterloo Sunrise. Anyway, that's my plan for next week. What I have planned for the coming booktube week, I guess I could say. I do want to do a dedicated video on the 3 finalists for the 2021 Cundall History Prize, of which Blood on the River will feature. And I think I'll try to do that on Monday if everything goes according to plan. Tuesday will be a tag video. Wednesday, I want to talk about the live-action Full Metal Alchemist trilogy that just concluded this past year. I've been watching the 3 movies this week, and I've got one more to go. I read or watched Full Metal Alchemist on Wednesday. I watched The Revenge of Scar yesterday, and I will hopefully get to The Last Alchemy, which really should have been The Last Transmutation, but whatever, today. Although it's a long one. It's about 2 hours and 23 minutes, so I might have to jiggle the time on that or just go to bed a little bit late. And hopefully what seems to have been happening the last few days after watching each movie, that I haven't really wanted to go to bed. So hopefully I don't have that same issue tonight, but we shall see. Thursday might be a tag video, might be something else. And on Friday, of course, will be weekly reads. And Oh yeah, expect at least a book haul or two next week because I'm starting to do individual book hauls rather than, or book hauls as I get them in rather than saving them all up till the end of the month. I'm going to see how that works. I mean, putting all of those books in, and because I have been getting massive amounts of book hauls the last few months, putting them all into both the books hauled in the show notes as well as into my library catalog has been a bit, it's tiresome. So I thought maybe doing them individually might kind of take that load off. We shall see. Of course, it could also be a bit like, oh no, it's another book haul. Much preferred doing them all at once because that way it's like one single video and I can afford it if I don't want it. But anyway. Um, so yeah. So there's going to be at least a cookbook and probably one of the shortlisted for the this year's Kindle History Prize should be coming in next week. And there's no guarantee telling whether or not I'll buy more books next week too, because I tend to have that habit. So anyway, BookTube, I'm starting to ramble, so I will go ahead and sign up for now. So thank you. Have a great evening and weekend, and I will see you on Monday with a new video. So until then, thank you and stay safe.